Once upon a time, there was a princess named Cinderella. On her 18th birthday, her fairy godmother gave her a health data platform that could securely store her EHR from any hospital, her genetic testing data, her fitness and nutrition data, and all her labs in one place. Except that this is no fairy tale. Hello and welcome to Data Point, the podcast about all the ways data and analytics are driving innovation in healthcare today. I'm your host, Greg Matthews, and our guest today is Ardy Arianpour, the co-founder and CEO of Seqster, the first health data management platform that enables people to collect, own, and share all of their health, DNA, and fitness data in one HIPAA-compliant, secure digital platform. Seqster's platform currently connects users to more than 9,300 healthcare providers, covering 2,000 hospitals, 8,400 medical and specialty groups, and 300 cancer center locations across the United States. That aggregation of data is plenty impressive, but I had an opportunity to take a peek at the platform today and also came away really impressed with the highly logical, visual design and functionality as well. If Ardy has his way, Seqster will be a household name in the near future, and you can say that you heard it here first. Ardy, thanks so much for being with us on Data Point today.
It's so nice to be here. Thanks so much, Greg.
Absolutely. So I heard about Seqster at South by Southwest this year, was introduced by a mutual friend of ours and actually a former guest on this show, Bonnie Clipper. As we get started, can you tell me a little bit about your experience in Austin at South by?
Yeah, other than having amazing burnt ends and lots of barbecue and mixing it with some really cold Shiner Bock, definitely got our 30,000 steps in every day running around from meetings and meetings. But I think your city, Greg, is one of the best, and it's definitely an upcoming, I think, secret to the U.S. And it just felt like Silicon Valley, but a lot better in Texas.
That's great. It's good to hear. And I've actually been on the advisory board for the conference for the health track for the last several years. And so it's good to hear about people coming in and having good experiences there. We are going to talk a lot about your company today, Seqster. But before we do that, I'd love to get a little bit of background from you. You founded this company, or were a co-founder founder of the company. You're the CEO. How did you get here? What was your path to Seqster?
Sure. I think, sometimes you have to say that there's no coincidences in your life. And I think Seqster is a great example of that. I started early on in, biological sciences and life sciences in my teens, I guess you could say, actually at the age of 16, went off to undergrad and got a biological sciences degree, was pre-med, and understood that you didn't have to be a scientist or a doctor to actually move the needle on medicine. And got into biotech really early on, became a biotech executive in my 20s, and was at the forefront of bringing next generation sequencing to the clinic. My team and I, actually at Seqster now, were one of the first folks that actually brought the exome sequencing to the clinic, launched various different cancer panels, fought the big BRCA BRCA fight of 2013 and the SCOTUS decision there. And so we're on the dark side of, I guess, siloing data. And that's where Seqster kind of began.
So you started the company a few years ago. What was its genesis? What were you trying to solve? You described the dark side. What's the light, I guess?
Yeah, it was really simple. It became complex, and that wasn't really what we set out to do. It's really been kind of an accident as we kept on going down a different path. But I was one of the first people to be whole genome sequenced over a decade ago. And when I did get my genome sequenced, it wasn't paired with my electronic health records. And so, we just wanted to put all this data in one place. And that's how we, accidentally kind of fell on, solving or cracking the code on person-centric interoperability now.
Now, that's an interesting phrase that you used there. Tell me about person-centric interoperability as opposed to some other kind?
Yeah, so I think when everyone thinks about interoperability, as you know, interoperability is a $30 billion problem in the US and really central to our problems and the biggest pain point in the healthcare system. And it's because, your UCSD data doesn't talk to your UCSF data, doesn't talk to your, Mayo Clinic data, doesn't talk to your NYU data. And it's not just within electronic health records. Your Apple Watch data doesn't talk to your old Fitbit data, right? Or your old Garmin data. And
Right.
so interoperability is also a DNA problem. Your 23andMe data can't be compared to your, let's say, your cousin's ancestry DNA data. And so, person-centric interoperability is the fact that you put the person, and obviously sometimes it's the consumer or the patient at the center of healthcare, and you allow them to disrupt the data silos to bring together their episodic EHR data, their baseline genetic data, and their continuous monitoring data from distinct sources.
So it's fascinating that you say that, and you say it so simply, and yet this is a problem, as you say, that we've been trying to solve in this country for years and years and have poured billions of dollars into it. How is it that a 3-year-old startup could have licked this problem?
Yeah, I think it comes from the fact that, we have came at this problem from a completely different angle that's just never been done before. And there's two angles to it. One, my team and I had a lot of experience within genomics and genetics and building some of the world's top clinical diagnostic and consumer genetic testing labs. And, we've seen millions of data points, and all those data points within, the genomics world or genetic world are based off of 4 base pairs, A, T, C, G. So it doesn't really matter where that data came from, your LabCorp data and your Quest data and your, any type of cancer panel data, genome data or genotyping data. At the end of the day, the data is pretty much the same. It can't be changed. When we started looking at and combining electronic health records, we really didn't have much experience in it. And we saw that it was such a mess. Your data from, one system to another on the same Epic system would be different. And so we set out the goal to standardize and harmonize the Epic, Cerner, Allscripts, McKesson, Practice Fusion, NextGen data. And we had a significant technical breakthrough 2 years ago that just, I think it was just, again, another complete accident where someone said, "Oh my God, you guys have solved interoperability." And at the time, we didn't even know how to pronounce interoperability. It was a tongue twister, granted alone a $30 billion plus problem in our, country.
So let's talk about the platform itself and the kind of data that it's integrating. You've talked about genomic data. You've talked about health record data and threw out, the names of a couple of the real big players there. What other kind of data is being captured in the Seqster platform?
Yeah, so it's all about real-time direct connectivity, right? We've built a data-driven healthcare, SaaS operating system here. And we can bring in, any type of electronic health record data. Currently, we have integrated 3,000 plus hospitals, 45,000 plus medical groups and small doctor office clinics. We can bring in, any type of DNA data from 23andMe, Ancestry, .com, MyHeritage, Color Genomics, and ETA, you name it, LabCorp, Quest. We can also bring in claims and EOB data. We can also, bring in various different social determinants of health data as well as imaging data. And to top it off, obviously there's lots of people that have continuous monitoring and wearables, right? Or any type of devices such as, Dexcom, ResMed, Omron, blood glucose monitoring, different devices. And all this data is being siloed either on the device or in the institution or in a lab. and we put the person at the center to bring it all together.
That's pretty incredible. It sounds like it could be a really, really onerous process, though. If I think about my own sources of data, I probably have 3 or 4 different health records where I have data sitting, and my Apple Watch data and my Map My Fitness data. And I mean, isn't it really hard for the individual to bring all that together, even if the platform's there?
Yeah. So obviously there's always some sort of barrier, right? But what we did is we took a consumer and patient person approach, and that's where the person-centric interoperability comes in, where we're able to break down those data silos. And if you're familiar with mint.com for finances, we created the mint.com of health, but our business model is the salesforce.com for healthcare. And that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, so the mint.com part I get. It means that I can go out and share my login information for my bank accounts and incorporate all that money. I'm assuming I could probably do the same thing on Seqster with my medical record accounts. So that part makes sense. Tell me a little bit more about the Salesforce model.
Yeah, so our approach was unique because we built the mint.com interface, right? And as you saw it just earlier, it's very intuitive, user-friendly, and really self-explanatory. All you need is your patient credentials, username and login into any type of data source, and within 60 seconds we can give you your data. We're empowering patients and members to collect, own, and share their data on their terms. Our business model is B2B because we've created a SaaS platform, a software as a service, where Seqster is really the technology platform that gets deployed to any major payer or provider that is trying to move the needle for their members. And it's a patient engagement platform as well. We're able to bring in longitudinal, multidimensional, and multi-generational data. And it's not just for individuals, it's for their loved ones and caregivers and so forth. So lots of utility just beyond data aggregation.
That's really incredible. So you're saying that if I was the caregiver for my mother, for example, that I would be able to access her data through the platform?
Exactly. And we actually came up with a way of doing that. And I had a personal story on that. I wanted my grandmother's data. My grandmother was actually passing away due to Alzheimer's 2 years ago during the development of Seqster. And that's how we came up with multi-generational data. And we patented the first legal framework called Health Trust, where the same way that, you get to pass on your car, jewelry, and money to your loved ones in your estate by a trust. Well, how come you can't do that through, with your health data? And that's a big feature within Seqster that we've created as well.
That's amazing. And that could be the subject of another podcast right there.
Maybe part 2.
Yeah, exactly. Let's come back to the business model for a minute. You mentioned the fact that you're a B2B SaaS platform. Targeted customers include providers like major health systems and hospitals, as well as payers. Tell me a little bit about how one of those organizations might implement the product. Do you have some vision about what their use case might look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the value to patients for, let's say, major providers with the Seqster technology and platform is the fact that you get to give patients longitudinal health timelines. You're able to open up nationwide access to a majority of the health systems for the providers to bring in, that health data in one place, the same way that you saw it happen. And, at the end of the day, you can follow treatment and response to treatments post-discharge. You reduce caregiver burdens. You get faster diagnostics and treatment and intervention. But really, if you want to talk about the value to that organization, you can significantly decrease the time and friction of obtaining patient medical records, which is the number one problem in healthcare. And, sometimes it's an invisible problem. And, there's a lot of talk about that now, because I think the country and the people who are trying to change healthcare are understanding that interoperability is the big problem. And, having a meaningful dialogue between the care teams and the patients is really important to the organizations. Saving time and cost with accurate chain of custody of data directly from the health data sources, and unlocking various different, precision medicine initiatives, and, how you can actually, use this data via the consent of the patients and the members for clinical trials and lots of other things beyond.
So you've teed up some really interesting things there, Ardy. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to go a little deeper into some of those interesting use cases and some of the things that are going on behind the scenes at Seqster. We'll be right back.
Today's show is brought to you by BlueSpire, a full-service digital marketing agency focused on complex and highly regulated industries of healthcare, senior living, and financial services. Rapid changes in the healthcare industry are causing consumers to seek out trusted advice, demand more transparency and access to information and content. With over 30 years of healthcare experience, BlueSpire knows how to help you reach, communicate with, and gain trust from these consumers. We help you engage with the right content at every touch point, from the first symptom search to appointment scheduling through care management. Visit us at bluespiremarketing.com to learn how we can help you deliver relevant, engaging content through ever-changing touch points that matter.
Welcome back to Data Point. I'm your host, Greg Matthews. We are here with Ardy Arianpour, the CEO of Seqster. Ardy, before the break, we were talking a little bit about how providers might use the platform and some of the benefits for them. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the patient's benefit. We've already established that there's a huge milestone that's been achieved by bringing together all of these data sources under the patient's control in their own platform. But I've actually seen a lot of patient portals in my day. And to be honest with you, I have found them to be pretty lacking in terms of utility. PDFs of my lab results and, having to dig through layers and layers to try and find what I'm looking for. Tell me a little bit about the process you use to design the platform from the patient's perspective.
Sure, Greg. We've thought about the exact same thing. And, patient portals, unfortunately, were made so that you and I can pay our bill. They weren't made so that you can actually visualize your data longitudinally and, have some type of engagement beyond the small things that they put in there. But, at Seqster, we worked with thousands of patients and also physicians so that we can design a highly intuitive and user-friendly interface that would give patients a 360-degree view of all of their health data, whether that's retrospective data or prospective data, bringing together their medication history, various different timelines. We really do believe that consumer-friendly interface and experience leads to better member engagement. And, we took it further by providing family caregivers with even, a type of a portal for monitoring and managing their loved one's health to reduce that caregiver burden. So the team is really proud with the design, and it's a lot of hard work of not just the Seqster team's design, but, for the past 3.5 years, like I said, we had thousands of people tell us how they would like it.
As you mentioned, I had an opportunity to take a look at the platform earlier. And one of the things that really impressed me was the ability to visualize that data. So rather than just throwing the numbers, your team has done a really, really nice job in making it digestible through visualization. And you mentioned really quickly something that I think deserves a little bit more discussion. When you're integrating different data sources, it's pretty tricky to, switch back and forth between my medication history and my lab results and my genomic data. my whatever diagnoses I may have. Tell us a little bit about how you integrated those things in the form of the timeline.
Yeah, so that credit goes to our 1,000+ alpha study that we did early on, and most of the folks there were females who told us that they wanted a health timeline. So we patented a health timeline so that that information can be filtered by provider and by category. And that was, something that brought more utility to the aggregation of the data, because aggregating data on its own really has no value. And then, as you know, the visualizations in healthcare are really, really, really not, enticing, I guess you could say. We wanted to, make it sexy and really engaging, as well as dynamic and real time.
So let's shift gears for a second, Ardy. I think where the listeners are probably digesting, just as I have, this concept that you've been able to bring all this data together in one place. And that is an achievement all on its own. But to really be powerful, it's going to require some work to do some research to understand how the different components of that data connect to each other to produce either good or bad health outcomes. Tell us a little bit about how you're envisioning Seqster being used as a research platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we worked with actually Boston University last year, BU, in order to come up with a specific product within the Seqster platform called the Seqster Research Portal. We call it the SRP. And a couple of the features of the Seqster Research Portal are, automated study subject matching. We're able to, streamline informed consent documentation. There's an investigative view for anonymized participant data. We provide an advanced administrative dashboard. And, what's great about this is currently within, any type of clinical trial, the participants aren't really getting any value. But imagine what you saw with Seqster, where, if you're in a clinical trial of 1,000 people with, ABC pharmaceutical company, we're able to, actually give meaningful interaction, to the participants with their data. The ability to contribute to advancement of medicine gets enabled. The improved participant journey and experience from the participant side. And then the value to that ABC pharmaceutical company is really streamlining study recruitment and consenting process. And what every single pharmaceutical company is really looking for now is real world data, RWD, and real world evidence, RWE. And we enable that.
That's the incredible thing, is being able to essentially combine a platform that's usable for a randomized controlled trial, but also to leverage the same platform for real world evidence on an ongoing basis. I mean, that is pretty incredible in and of itself.
I think the reason being, Greg, is because once you have all of your episodic EHR and your baseline genetic and your continuous monitoring, wearable information in one place, really magic can happen. It really depends on the business enterprise, what their end goal is and how they want to use this type of technology and platform.
So let's talk about the future of Seqster. When you started telling me about this, my first thought was, this sounds like it's a great vision. It's a great concept. Sure, you have a cool prototype, but what you're telling me now, Ardy, is this product is real and ready for the market. Yes?
Absolutely. It's been ready, and there's been some very important people that have tried it and have even tweeted it about their experience, such as Eric Topol.
Yeah, I think a lot of our listeners, probably all of our listeners actually, are going to be familiar with Eric Topol. His new book, Deep Medicine, has just come out. Tell us about your interaction with Dr. Topol and what he had to say about it publicly.
Yeah, so 3 years ago we presented our idea to Eric, and he thought it was going to be a huge undertaking and not really possible. you fast forward, and last summer we get a call that, he wants to see what we're up to, and he heard that the buzz, I guess you could say, and we went and presented to him. Long story short, after we presented to him, he thought, it was an amazing platform just like you, but he wanted to try it. And then the next day, my phone explodes, with Twitter notifications. And, you can go on @Seqster on our Twitter page. It's pinned. And literally he tweeted, first time I've been able to get my medical data from 1985 to present, 4 different health systems. And he names all 4: Scripps, UCSD, Cleveland Clinic, University of Michigan, plus his 23andMe data, plus his fitness data, plus his nutrition data from MyFitnessPal, and his Fitbit, with labs from different systems connected at Seqster. Step in the right direction, less than 24 hours. So again, that's a perfect example of person-centric interoperability. And, we couldn't be more proud that Dr. Eric Topol was the first person to actually share his health data publicly and breaking down those data silos, that fast. It just never has happened before. And now we're able to do it on scale.
It's a fantastic validation, I think, of the work that you've done, and I do encourage you to go out and check out the Seqster Twitter account. And by the way, Seqster is SEQSTER. As we close out here, Ardy, a lot of my listeners are senior executives in hospitals, health systems, pharma companies, med tech companies. If they have an interest in learning more about Seqster, what's the best way for them to engage with you and your team?
Sure. The best way is to contact us at info@seqster.com, SEQSTER.com, as Greg said. And, what I like to always say is everyone is seeking health data. It doesn't matter if you're a payer, provider, clinical research enterprise, or even a large consumer brand. Everyone is seeking health data, and we have the platform to empower, the 7.7 billion people on this planet to really collect, own, and share their data on their terms.
Fantastic. Ardy, thank you so much for being with us on DataPoint today. I think Seqster is an incredibly exciting platform, and I know that our listeners are going to be really interested in it. Really appreciate you being here.
It was a pleasure speaking with you, Greg. Thanks so much for your time, and look forward to part 2.
Thanks so much for listening to the DataPoint podcast. If you like what you've heard, please do rate, review, and share it with your social network. It means a lot. And if you have ideas for show topics or guests, please email them to me at greg@healthquant.health or send a direct message to @ChiMoose on Twitter. That's CHIMOOSE on Twitter. For more information about this show or any of the terrific healthcare podcasts in the Touchpoint Media Network, check them out at touchpoint.health. See you next time.
This has been a Touchpoint Media production. To learn more about this show and others like it, please visit us online at touchpoint.health.